I'm the director of the Commons. Welcome to our humble abode. We are enthused to have Caroline Casey in the house. I want to personally thank Jerome McGeorge for spending a lot of time over these last few weeks putting together this beautiful schedule of events for everyone. She's managed to touch a lot of people since she's been here, and it's all due to his tireless scheduling. So, another little pointer. In this gallery here, we've collected 40 years worth of solar lunar calendars. Wow. And Alvin and Lila and Jerome are all here, so be sure to check them out and let them know how beautiful this work is. We really appreciate all the work you did to hang all these. And then, like we do every equinox and solstice, Rahbi Crawford presents this beautiful sound play event. This is the band that I've always wanted to be in. I named them, without telling them, the Effigy Ensemble in honor of all the effigy mounds in the area. And we're basically ready to get going. I don't know who elected for this event. Isn't the moon trining Uranus? That seems like a disaster, or a lot of pleasant surprises could happen. Okay, without further ado.
Hello, I'm Mark John, and I'm really excited to be part of this ensemble, which just fell into place about a month ago, and I've just been having a great time working with these musicians. Now, the next piece that we're going to be doing had its genesis over a decade ago when I asked my father, who was a nuclear physicist, what the sounds of the elements were. And he says, they don't have any. And I said, well, isn't everything vibrating? And if it's vibrating, doesn't it have a sound? And he said, well, not that you can hear. And so, there's a rather long story, but what happened was, just before he died, I took out some physics books, and he pointed out a picture to me of the light signature of the element hydrogen. And there were 5 colors in the element hydrogen. And in one line was its wavelength of the color, and in the second line was its frequency. Well, I learned that the frequency was about 700 trillion hertz. That's a frequency that angels speak in and sing in. But I learned enough, I learned enough to bring it down 40 octaves. And I brought it down 40 octaves, and I found that I could play that light on my violin. And over the years, I've taken and looked at this, and I started looking at what are the light elements of the human body, and the alchemical elements, and a few other ones that I was interested in. And so, for this evening's performance, I've taken the light signature of silver. Silver, often connected with the moon, often connected with intuition, love. And so I brought this piece to this group, and they've been working with it for me. So this piece is Silver Moon in the key of silver.
A bow to all of you. Sublime, sublime, sublime. We know that music and metaphor are the incarnational garb whereby power enters the world. And we go, all right, splendid job, fantastic. Oh, so honored. So I lived with an actual coyote for 19 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days. And she bestowed some of her, well, much of her coyote hair. It seems to have disappeared. Oh, thank you. That's what a good idea. Turn the microphone on. Thank you. Did I do it? I hope so. La? No? Yes. Okay, that's good. I'd be nothing without you. Thank you. So I have some of Stella Coyote's coyote hair mixed with sacred herb and tobacco to make something called muti. Muti is from the Sangomas of South Africa. It means power and medicine. True power is that which heals. And we don't source power, we invite it. We invite it with music and dedication. And so Stella Coyote and I made up our own creation myth. She said, long before there were humans, Bodhisattva Coyote sets the whole shebang going with a sizzle of liberating lightning. And it runs through every plant and every animal. And every now and then, it's this unique genius of nature. And every now and then it gets imprisoned or orthodox, so it becomes a great escape artist, a great escapade artist, and then sizzles into all of us and all of our hearts right now to await the invitation to come alive. So with the muti, we say, oh, spirit of Stella Coyote and ingenious, necessary miracles, open the path before each of us here that we may contribute our gifts and have the most fun, do the most good in a manner that is replenishing to ourselves and the community, or something like that. So, what a great, equinox. Equinox, equal night and day, equal Mars and Venus, equal visible and invisible. One of the powers of music, of course, is it's invisible, so it connects to the invisible. It's the backstage spirits. It's also the green room. Everything has meaning if we track it back. We call backstage the green room. It's from Greek theater because it was sacred to Dionysus, the green man. So every actor, all of us really, regardless of their role, hero or villain, spent time in the green room dedicating to the flora and fauna of the earth. And here we are doing that too. So the visible and the invisible all equal. This equal time, right? Because now it will start to get darker. And then, at Stella Coyote is encouraging, we go, let's compost the hubris of humanism, humans as the measure of all things, into nutrient for animism, which is the truth of animism. And I like to say animism, it's not a belief, it's just good manners, as though everything's alive. So, for 25,000 years, at least that we know, people have gathered like this, to honor this powerful time. Nor Hall says, deliberate celebration of the change of seasons stirs the creative powers of the psyche, so that we are attuned, in tuned. And what a great word, deliberate. It comes from Libra, right? So we're in this moment, the sun has just entered Libra. So the word deliberate comes from Libra. It comes from two verbs, librare, to liberate, and libare, to balance. Right? So words are magic. So when we are deliberate, many teammates here are wonderfully deliberate. When we're deliberate, we're in a state of liberating balance. We go, ooh, what fun. Let's do that. So Saturn, a little brief thing. Many people know much, but just let the astrology wash over you. So the planets represent living qualities of intelligence that reside within us and connect us to the world. They like, part of our play is they like to be talked about, invoked, musically invited, so that they hum. So each planet is a quality of intelligence. Saturn is our authority, our capacity to define things, to dedicate, to take vows. So it is the part of us all that we have been most likely to outsource to sociopathic criminal leaders, for instance, or anything that makes us cringe, right? It's a daily practice, just to notice where do we go, taxes, okay, but always useful to say, I am always invisible to the authorities except when I request their assistance. That's a useful thing to carry in one's little backpack. But so the insourcing of our own authority, this is a powerful, necessary thing at this dangerous time, right? Where we want to insource leadership back into ourselves, and so many beautiful dancing and rhythms and all of that too. That's all Saturn rhythm. Saturn lives in our hara, our belly. It's also associated with our goat. It's our sturdy mountain goat. So when we say, oh, somebody got my goat, right, it actually comes from horse racing, in which horses had a companion goat that was all important to them, and bad people before a race would get a horse's goat, leaving it all frantic. Right? But once we have that metaphor, like, oh, somebody got my goat, but I see my goat coming back even friskier and less obedient than before it got. Right? So everybody assumes responsibility in the community for retrieving their goat, and even just to see it with its little outer space eyes and feel its little goaty hot breath here, we're calling our goat back. So, it's good. So we'll introduce slowly the kind of quality of now and some wonderful to and fro with our musicians. And you're right, you could have gone on forever. It was just wonderful, just so wonderful. So this is the time, the transition from Virgo to Libra, from Mercury to Venus, when Legba, the powerful messenger part of ourselves, the language crafting part of ourselves with high standards and discernment, but who is an agent of the beautiful order that suffuses creation, hands the baton to Venus. Still, it's cumulative, but it's the leadership. We rotate leadership. So Venus says, and you can feel this in your heart, we have all come to make the world more beautiful. You can say Ashe. That's Ashe. So, this idea of equal, trickster loves equal. So in astrology, everything is trickster, but Uranus represents, trickster, our own intuition, our own autonomy as well, and then it's associated with equality, democracy, synchronicity. And I was wondering years ago, what do those ideas have to do with each other? No sooner did I wonder that than events arranged themselves to make it very clear that when we look down at somebody or even up at somebody, there's no magic, there's no synchronicity. We all have different roles, musicians, or I'm talking, or you're, but we all have different roles that we rotate, but backstage, equal, straight across, respect. The word respect, wonderful. Re is again, spect is look. So with Aretha Franklin, it's like re, keep looking until you can find something to love. That's good. So equality, democracy, synchronicity. When we treat each other with ally etiquette, these are all aspirations, and on a day like today, in this time, in the season, we put our desire, how we want to be, on the altar of mysterious dedication and just go, oh, spirits of woof that animate the universe, hold me to this. This is the quality of person. I want to be equal. I want to have manners, not mismanners, but natural manners, And so it says, well, when we treat each other equally, the rate of synchronicity increases dramatically. Then it's the right person, the right thing, the right song at the right moment. So this is really good news for us at this perilous time. If we treat each other well, we always say, to go backwards, the Dementors of Doom, bless their little cuckoo hearts, have more lawyers, although fewer and fewer, and money. But if we treat each other well, have the magic of synchronicity and being danced into place. So it makes it a sporting possibility. So here we are at this equinox, and it's twilight. It's twilight. The sun is setting now. And in fairy tales, twilight is such a magic time. It is neither night nor day. It is the place where magic happens. And we go, ooh, these portals, doorways. And I'll just speak to some of the patterns that are with which we are being so generously proffered, right? We look at different key angles between planets. And so I'm just going to mention the Moon, quintile, Ceres, Demeter, dwarf planet, goddess of the earth. Venus, also quintile, Ceres. I'll explain this. Jupiter, quintile, Saturn. A quintile is a 72-degree angle, what we get when we divide the circle by 5. 5 is sacred to Venus. Venus forms a 5-petaled orbital design over 8 years. So the quintile, the way I learned it a million years ago in astrology school, is irresistible eloquence. So it's like the backstage says, to all of you who care about the earth, who work for her, we bestow irresistible eloquence. And it's such a democratic and wonderful capacity because it means for each one of us to have a true perception. And we don't have to persuade or convince, which means to conquer. We can just hold a true perception, and be like a tuning fork that hums in others. So nobody has to believe us. They go, oh, since you played that music, since you guided my gaze, I see that now, or I feel that now. And then my wonderful beloved friend, astrologer Sylvia Hanley said, Caroline, the quintile is that, but it's also the capacity to open portals between worlds. I go, well, now we're talking. And that's what we could feel with the music, too. It's like, ooh. The muti means, again, we don't source power, we invite it. And the modern world has mistaken control and dominance for power. And the whole Pluto realm says, no, true power is that which is invited with a dedicated heart. So for all summer, I've been in love with the word vessel, because in all languages, it means container, like an alchemical container that we want to be brewing here, and boat, right? So I love that. We're going to sort of begin and end with the vessel. So we're putting our vessel together, and very kind, wonderful, welcoming in Viroqua. A denizen of Viroqua said to me last night, Viroqua is the Sedona of the Midwest. And I go, oh, that's adorable. And I've been, humming and cahooting with, radio and to and fro and putting things together, because the new moon right behind us in Virgo was a new moon whose particular quality, particular degree, was each person connecting with their lineage, It's like the Yoruba say, the ancestors have sent us all to complete their work. So the lineage kind of pouring in. And so I've been putting different parts of my life together. And I'm choosing, see if it's all right with you, I'm choosing to think of Viroqua as a hotbed of anarcho-entheo-astro-animism. Is that all right? And this is also, the time that community come back into equilibrium. We get to invite in mentors, people, allies, musicians from other times and places. And I want to bring in the Taoist Rainbringer. When Richard Wilhelm was in China, there was a terrible drought, and the villagers summoned the Taoist Rainbringer, and he sat for like 3 days, like nama, 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 and then it poured, and some say it even snowed. And so Wilhelm went to him and said, how did you make the rain come? And he goes, oh, no, I didn't make the rain come. Where I live, things are pretty in harmony. When I came to your community, it was so whacked out, it took me 3 days to come into equilibrium and balance, and when I came into balance, the rains came. Nice. So let this be a companion mentor to us all, right? No sense practicing tantrum yoga, right? There's so much that teases us into, conniption fits, but conflict feeds the dementors, right? Please don't feed the dementors, right? So there's that kind of quality. Because the re-wedding of all that's been falsely estranged, where it dances in this equinoctial time, and it's like, so thinking and feeling, no, they love each other. The heart and the mind, they love each other. There's no need to throw one out. It's all cumulative, And I like to say magic is simply a willingness to cooperate with everything. So we're entering into this collaborative, cooperative realm. And the backstage, the backstage ancestors, and says, all you humans have to do tonight is completely redesign the human interface with nature. And then we'll have some other tasks for you. But that's a kind of top one too. So this time when Legba Mercury hands the baton to Venus, but carrying all of the Mercury, all of the Virgo skills that we've accumulated, power of language and discernment, but Venus now chimes in and says, yes, critique diagnosis with a kind heart. It's like the most powerful mojo really is to be deeply discerning and to see, the creepitudinous as well as the beautiful, and to wish it well anyway. I mean, it's all very well for people who don't notice much to go, oh, it's all love. There's just no power to that, right? You got to know just how dangerous and creepy and terrible it is and love it anyway. And it's like, that's South African magic. That's the beautiful. And then I love for the Virgo part of all of us, my moon's in Virgo, but it's, Virgo feels great. This part of us feels great when it feels that it is an agent of the beautiful order that suffuses creation, an agent of it. It's why Virgo is called the ruler of ritual magic, the micro to the macro, the arranging, the careful arranging of beauty here, in our homes, connects to the world. Small things have a huge effect. And Virgo feels neurotic when it feels that the only order that exists is what it creates, because then it's like, must buy 5 tomatoes and save the world. Ah, hell, that's too much. So that quality of, we are willing to be agents of the order and danced into place. Because I was saying that and you said you hadn't been dancing in a while. It's called, oh no, but you're dancing now, beautiful Rahbi. And then these small things, I love a Virgo woman was saying that she was helping a next door neighbor who'd been kind and adopted many homeless cats, And she said, so we were tweaking her house until it sang, right? Just those little things. We love that so much. And I also love, in this book, Initiate Brother, there's a man of great character, leader, who's out and about, and then terrible danger comes, like what we have. It's a book called The Initiate Brother about how to maintain tranquility of purpose when in the realm of evil collapsing empire, so it's relevant. So the man, nothing's going right, terrible things, so he retreats to his garden and everything feels off, just off, like how that is sometimes. And even the stream in his garden had lost its melodious voice. So, here comes the Virgo part of all of us. He reaches into the stream and he picks up one small stone and he carefully replaces it. And the stream has its melodious voice restored and his mind clears and he sees who to trust, who not to trust, and how to save the world. Right? So it's, when things are overwhelming, it's like move one small stone, not any stone, right? It's the stone that wants to be moved. Go, ah. So taking our language craft with us, and adding Mercury language craft, language, one of the great original technologies of participation. And then it leads to Venus. So there's language and art and all of that as always, all forms of participating. And the whole realm of Venus is, inviting in. It's like in the really useful documentary, The Cave of Forgotten Dreams, Werner Herzog is allowed to have access to the oldest cave paintings in the world. And you can see him and his film crew being moved by mystery. There's a fantastic horse, 25,000 years old, and 5,000 years later, somebody paints another horse next to it. And there's flutes made of antler all over, and there's a fire pit. And at a certain point, we can see Herzog seeing it. He says, so people gathered here for over 5,000 years, and they played music, and they shadow danced between the fire pit with the paintings on the wall. It's like, ooh, goosebumps, right? We know how to do this. So the purpose of the art was not even to be seen, it was portals, to invite in. So, and here we are doing such things. So I feel just for play, all meant as an offering, not an imposition, that we replace the too frequent use of the word fight with the word dance, right? People often say, I've been struggling with this issue for years, and it's like, well, what does it feel like if you replace the word struggle with dancing? I've been dancing with this issue for years, and it's like, oh, much more movement and fun, And, the musicians up, and when we have more, to undulate, again, dancing. So, people say, how long will we have war? And it's like, as long as we keep using it as a metaphor. So this dance of all that's been, so all the goddesses of equilibrium, the scales, the balance, this is the time when they are honored, when they kind of come into molecular actuality. So Mat is the Egyptian goddess of truth, right? Scales. Anubis guides us to the underworld, but then our heart is weighed against a feather, right? And if it's heavier than a feather, to the demonic, well, then Nam eats you, right? Right. So that's quite an aspiration, that our heart be, in balance with a feather, not heavier than that. This idea also Inanna, justice, balance, aligned with nature. So, some of you have been hanging with me. Some of you are like, who the hell is this? Some is familiar material. Feel free to chant along with me. But I have so liked Terry Pratchett's book, I Shall Wear Midnight. So pertinent to us. The cunning man has come to town and created mob mind. And mob mind is the atmosphere. And the young girl witch, whose job is to dissolve the power of the cunning man and the power of mob mind. But she says, mob mind, it's the rough music that causes somebody to pick up a stick and another person and to do cruel things, right? And she says we can all feel it in us, this atmosphere, and for us all to be artists of atmosphere. For the compassionate trickster, one of the great places to begin to have a molecular effect on the world is the backstage atmosphere, which you all have done so well, music allies, to create the atmosphere conducive to the good. So she says, whenever, we go, ooh, I don't know why I said that mean thing. I don't know why I had that hateful thought. Ooh. She goes, it's the mind, we're all connected. We're all in this dream together. One of my favorite client allies is a forensic psychiatrist. Her job is to go into crime scenes to maintain kinship with the perpetrator. And we've talked about this, that and it's all one thing, that any crime belongs to the collective dream in some way, and that a wise culture would say, how did this happen? She goes to crime scenes where children have killed their mother, right? And she goes, we are killing our mother. It's all humming. So that idea, that pressure comes down and it erupts through thin membranes, psychotic, so close together, right? And again, how did this happen and how do we dissolve it? So the young girl witch, Tiffany Aiken in the novel, so wonderful, says, her job, she says, the cunning man finds purchase in all whose hearts are full of grievance. It's like, oh, this is really important. I work with my friend Patricia Ewing. We do election magic. We do election magic councils, right? And I think they're pretty good, pretty useful. But she asked me, what is the antonym of grievance? And I go, oh, that's a good question. Because all authoritarianism and tyranny runs on grievance. Like those people, right? And so, when working on that, and I would think to myself, like, well, I don't have grievance. And it's like, ooh, that person did that mean thing several years ago, and I'll never listen to that radio station, whatever the thing is. Ooh. And it's one of those things where I was driving down the road and then just going, the fate of the world requires humans dissolving grievance out of their hearts. So we're going to do that now. why not? Dream big, play fair. The power of this gathering to start things that, that everybody can take home and, practice this at home, right? But it's in keeping with Neptune. It's, solve e coagula, dissolve and reimagine. Dissolution is the secret of the great work. So with this, just feel in one's heart where we are willing to just dissolve all of that. Dissolving, all little minding of who did what, all of that. Dissolving, letting it go. And in trying to understand, what exactly is grievance, how do we define it, and can we keep some grudges? It's I think we can keep grudges. But it's one, I prime the pump for everybody to define it for itself. Autonomy is a sacrament. But for me, I go, well, then a grievance is anything that's an impediment to blessing that person or that situation. And it's well, that's pretty good. And so, we've dissolved the grievance into these many, 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 many bowls. That's wonderful, And then from it, we would just want to ladle out spicy blessing, all grievance into liberating blessing. It doesn't have to be nice. The word nice comes from nescient, which means ignorant. We're allowed to set in motion anything of which we would be the happy recipient, right? So let all abusing power be moved to a place they can no longer harm themselves by harming others. That's good. So we're just filling our magic backpacks with the art of blessing. So many cultures, their days are woven together with blessing. Americans have kind of forgotten about blessing until now. There we go. It's got a definite structure to it. But like in the Middle East, underneath all of the, hyper yang death frenzy, is the beauty of Venus. My friend Deborah Felmuth and I do something called, she lives in Syria and Vermont, like you do. But we again, call it blessing poker, because that's how people in Syria actually live. May it go well for you and for you. Morning of light to you and to you. And may the divine spread cherry blossoms along your path and bless all of your children that they may be well. And then you keep it going. It's a blessing poker. With cultures going in, here is a beautiful piece of music from our culture. Oh, that is beautiful. Here's an even more beautiful piece from our culture. Oh, that is beautiful. So blessing. Venus now is taking the lead. Venus, the art of beauty and equilibrium and inviting in and art. We remember, that there was a time when creativity and art and musicians and storytellers and designers were the leadership in a community, inviting in. So I love this woman, Janine Benyas, whom I interviewed so long ago and just replayed the interview, and it's oh, this is really good, so wonderful. So she's the founder of biomimicry. Many of you may have heard of it. If not, put it in your magic backpack, because it's the sine qua non for collaborative life on this planet. her point is, rather than looting nature, let's borrow nature's designs. Let's humbly cooperate. Our word human comes from humus, from which we get humble, and dirt. We just, the word human means we are meant to be humble people in the dirt. And I think of how many people live here in Viroqua and love it, the Sedona of the Midwest. And it's as though, okay, so the land calls the people, and then the people connect to the land, and then the land calls more people, and that's how we have sane, reverent communities coming into being, so important for always, of course, but what we're all heading into. As Pluto, the principle of death and rebirth in Capricorn now, it's America's Pluto return at the moment, we'll come back to that briefly, but then it will enter into Aquarius for 24 years on January 20th, 2024. It's all about community. Cults are a toxic mimic of community. Real community is where everyone is self-possessed and the ingenuity comes up. Who knows how to do what? Let's do these things. So Janine, she said, beauty is a signal of the good. It's the reason we love flowers and running in sparkling water. Recoupling the beautiful with the good is our design. And she says all poisons, all human-made poisons are design flaws. And we go, right. And then she said, and I said this to some people already, but it's worth it, because when we tell stories afresh, it brings them alive, it animates them. And animate means to bestow soul, and then it becomes a living partner. So Janine said, do you know how bees practice democracy? I'm like, tell me again, it's so wonderful. And she goes, well, when they need to move, they send out scout bees, specialized bees who are really good at scouting, and they go out separately. And she says they're really deep. One bee might spend an hour investigating a hollow log, right? And then they all come back, and all the scout bees dance what they saw to the community. And the bees dance enthusiastically when they vote, because then the other bees start dancing, and they dance with the scout bee, and that's when they all go there. It's very charming, right? And so what Janine and I were saying, let's learn democracy from bees before our arrogance destroys them. Who carry so much. Bees are sacred to Venus. We're in this time. We know it's in great trouble because of human manners, lack of manners, right? And just in the dance, Jupiter and Uranus, Jupiter every 12 years, Uranus every 84, these are the qualities of intelligence that are the path openers. So Saturn is a part of all of us that makes vows and dedicates, and wonders what is our deepest dedication. And Saturn's really good at dedicating, but it's terrible at, well, how am I going to do this thing? How am I going to do this impossible thing? That just invokes the ancestral futility and depression, of all those who came before us. We'd say Saturn's job is what, not how. Saturn's job is what. Jupiter and Uranus chime in and say, we'll do how. Especially because we are granted this beautiful gift of Saturn quintiling Jupiter. They're in creative cahoots. Saturn says, make a vessel of your dedication, and Jupiter says, I will fill it and animate it. Right? So Jupiter and Uranus, nature's evolutionary trickster genius, come together, and Taurus, participatory animism. The last time they were together was 1940. Not a great time, but in Europe, Nazis, in America, New Deal and Nazis. But also, it was when Dion Fortune, one of my favorite mentors in Britain, was hired by the British government to work with the ritualists of Britain to protect Britain from the Nazi invasion using ritual and music. And I think it had a real effect. We don't presume, we don't claim hubris, but I think it had a real effect. And we say, well, what do we have now that wasn't available then? And Jupiter and Uranus they're very close together, they will conjoin on April 20th, 2024. It's like this can be an incredible molecular, actual, renaissance of sane, reverent ingenuity everywhere. No, it's available. So so this beautiful astrological language is not about what's going to happen. No, it's about what's available with which to participate. We go, all right, ingenious Renaissance, who brought what? We love that. And I love that Jeanine Benyus in our conversation, she said, Rachel Carson taught me to bring the ecstatic into science writing. We go, right, science and poetry, they love each other. And I don't know how many of you know, Lauren Isley, the work of Lauren Isley, also quite wonderful, a scientist, poet. Again, these things that belong together, flowing back together. But Lauren Isley says, we are rag dolls made out of many ages and skins, changelings who have slept in wood nests or hissed in the uncouth guise of waddling amphibians. We have played such roles for infinitely longer ages than we've been men. Our identity is a dream. We are process, not reality. For reality is an illusion of the daylight, the light of our particular day. Yeah, so we're all those things, we're all that journey and what we feel kin with. And then just one more Lauren Isley quote, because it's so great and poignantly pertinent. We have joined the caravan, you might say, at a certain point. We will travel as far as we can, but we cannot in a lifetime see all that we would like to see or learn all that we hunger to know. Yeah, it's precious, this curiosity, and also, this long view, recent research has declared that white people only existed in the last 2,000 to 4,000 years, and actually 4,000 to 6,000 years. It's like very, very young, very recent, young whippersnappers, and now it's like white psychosis is trending. And it's like, no, you guys settle down there. So very, very young. And, we say, as we will encourage, undulating, as many of our teammates here are good, undulating, it's like just because we were born white, no need to stay that way, right, in terms of moving. The sky rivers are stalling, right, due to human bad manners, right? So which is why tremendous rain, we're really in this rock and roll time. As Bill McKibben says, no human has experienced the earth this high. So here we are. So the sky rivers, so they've lost their capacity to undulate. So that's why we do want to undulate. There was some great undulating going on back here, more undulating to come. But again, it's really like permission just to undulate. We do it naturally. And that's also in the language realm. It's like there's so much pandemic use of the word impact, right? Impact investing. It's like really you want a short, violent encounter. What about a long, curvy influence? Right? So there's that. And Venus bringing us a relationship, reciprocity, mutual aid. Right, and Saturn exalted in Libra is kind of fun because it says, there is a part of us that knows how to be in harmony with everyone and everything in our lives if we're in the right angle of relating. So it's like go through the entire realm of relationships and you go from the periphery and you go, this person, how can I best feel good about them? Never seeing them again. That feels great. That's really wrong. Or once a year for lunch. Yeah, that's right. And then you get in closer and you go, so we are in America's Pluto return. Pluto is where it was when this country was founded. It's got to dive into the cruel creepitude to compost everything. All of that. We can see it. It's not hidden, right? It's like, again, my friend Pat in politics says, the greater the danger, the more the opportunity. We go, okay. Again, stealthy, trickster, coyote, making our alliances, impossible things, all a good idea. So we got to dive into the cruel creepitude to compost, the good tonic to that toxin. And I guess I have people's charts here, like Janet Sewich's chart. We're going to bless her, of course, and then Peter Lambourne Wilson that Eddie Nix turned me on to, a great ally, anarchist thinker. And the whole kind of anarchos, which is really cooperative, participatory democracy, intrinsic, and And at one point in a recording I was listening, he said, well, there's left-wing romanticism. I'm like, right, that was an important part of my life. But as a friend said, but they were killing themselves all day. Like, oh God. And then we get to William Morris. Let us have only those things in our homes that we know to be useful and believe to be beautiful. Great anarchist. And then we get to Thoreau and Emerson. College here on Thoreau, apparently. And seances and spiritualism and the practice of utopian communities in the 1840s and the 1850s. Apparently, upstate New York, as Peter says, it was California way before California. And we go, right, and then that spiritualism, that Thoreau and Emerson then brew into Native American, spirituality as well. And we go, right. And then just for the fun of it, he in the same thing, he goes, and let's remember, see, we're digging up the good things as well as the creepitudinous things. And he mentioned Walter Benjamin. And I go, what, Walter Benjamin? Walter Benjamin was a brilliant anarchist writer, German Jewish, and he wrote a seminal essay called The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction. It's a genius thing. In the 30s, right, it was prescient. He said his concern was that as we mechanically reproduce art, art will lose its aura. That's the word he used. It will use its Venus. It will no longer be intimate and connecting. It's again, a brilliant thing, and we're here to, again, restore Venus. So one of the things, just to put dodgy necessary things on our altar of desirable mystery, so I track news, I read news, I do the dream news, what myths are operating in the news, how do we participate, dream news by understanding the news as a dream speaking to us, and then also participate in dreaming the news into being. So Ceres Demeter, little dwarf planet, entered Scorpio on September 15th. And at the same time, one of my great sources, Heather Cox Richardson, do many of you read her? Yes. What is it to be a good citizen? She's one of those great sources. She just puts it out, an essay a day almost. And she said, on September 15th, I'm like, okay, correlation. So she said, the United Auto Workers, walked off the job on September 15th. I go Ceres into Scorpio going, we're playing now. We're addressing power, at 3 Midwestern, auto plants. And it's again fair, right? The workers sacrificed in 2007, bailed the car companies out, as we all did. But then in 2022, this is from Heather, profits soared. Ford made more than $10 billion in profit. And so we go, hey, with the auto workers, right? Hey, share some. We're in this dream. We sacrifice for you. And then the GM CEO, Mary Movey, maybe, made $29 million. And we go, hey, share some of that. While auto workers, salaries fell 19%. We go, this is very just. And again, the trickster hero or heroine within all of us is interested in liberating the land, liberating women, liberating men, liberating the community, liberating even the tyrant, not counting on it, but liberating the entire atmosphere, the whole thing. And so the UAW president, Sean Fain, says, let's do this for all workers, no more profit over life. And we go, yeah, hey, exactly. And I learned after my dad died that he was a big supporter of Fighting Bob La Follette, right? Thank you. Say it correctly. La Follette. I'll get it right. Fighting Bob La Follette, prairie populism, right? A Republican that FDR got most of his ideas for the New Deal from La Follette because he implemented them in Wisconsin, right? Social Security, all kinds of great stuff. And we go, right, we're calling on the ancestors to come redeem things. And then of course, Janet Prolasevich, right? And we go, hey, protect her. So we add our practical work and our magic work. So boomerang, I think, is a good thing too. Boomerang, it's boo with a meringue pie in the face. May anything up to no good be revealed, rendered be revealed, rendered harmless, and in the fullness of time be an occasion for mirth. That's a blessing, right? And it turns out that Senator Bernie Sanders and John Fetterman, adorable, have visited Michigan, and they were surprised to hear that Biden is coming to Michigan on Tuesday to join the picket line, right? We go, okay. It's tough in progressive quarters to go, Biden, really okay? They're like, oh, no. And it's like, no, it's our assignment. He'll do many good things. It's all complex, but what can you work with? I love Kim Stanley Robinson at the Bioneers Conference saying, he said, I'm not as gloomy as when I wrote The Ministry for the Future. And part of it is, isn't it great that Biden has put so many smart young women in charge of climate? And that's true. Again, won't get much press, it's just, so the round table, the Arthurian legends, the round table myth is endogenous. I love the word endogenous, just as we have endogenous receptors to cannabis, endogenous receptors to DMT, we have endogenous receptors to astrology and to myth. It lives in us. So the Arthurian round table was an experiment to have magically cultivated people engaged in governance. That's what the myth is about. To have magically cultivated people engaged in actual governance. Our word idiot comes from Greek idiotos, meaning somebody who had no participation in the collective well-being of the community. Idiot. Now, it's for everybody to define for themselves what participation is and what politics is, but we're going, which is to understand, it's certainly part of my dedication, that politics and magic belong together. These falsely estranged things as a mean trick of the reality police, and to bring it together into play. So what happens at the end of the Arthurian legends is, Arthur goes away to Avalon to take yoga classes with the priestesses, right? And Merlin goes off with the nymphette into the woods, right? But it's said to await the world's call at a time of danger, and we go, now would be really good. Now would be really good. So that's sort of the end of the myth, but myths don't ever end. They get put on pause, and we're here to hit play. Come on back, for magically cultivated, engaged people to engage in collective well-being that we sometimes think of as politics. Oh, all right. Yeah, we like that. So I am proposing for all of us that politics as sacred community magic, that we dance them together, that we don't go, we go, we are available, what can we do? Where's the best possible dynamic? So with all of that, our next exciting adventure together, a small task, we're beginning these things too, but it's like, why don't we dissolve cruelty and dominance out of the human repertoire, right? Why not? Right? So tyrants come along and go, where's cruelty and dominance? I know I put it somewhere. God, I can't seem to find it. It's just not there. So here is our reverie. That's good too. to dissolve cruelty and dominance from the human repertoire. Just it's fun. Feel free to undulate in your mind, at least. I think it's working. Keep going. I like it. And we can feel with the musicians and the beautiful violin, which is this aspirational yearning, like, whoa. Cruelty and dominance into kindness and mutual aid and symbiosis. And from that comes what I like to call democratic animism. Again, we're all in this stream together. And we make alliances with what we love in nature, the plants and the animals. Cooperators are standing by. Again, it's more than perfect that we humans cannot resolve the innumerable cruelties we've imposed on our kin by ourselves. It's by ourselves that got us into this pickle. We'll come back for rowdy democratic animism and all the creatures and the romping and all. We are also cooperators standing by. So a little more of danger. So we're doing this, which is great. And a little more of danger. There's it's a saying from Shakespeare's Tempest. Hell is empty, all the devils are here. It's also the title of a Louise Penny detective novel, which is pretty good. Right, so as our skill, remember the Dementors are always and only self-referential. So mirrors and mirrors and mirrors. Mentors be the antidote to the dementors, right? So also to think of, since we're connecting with our lineage, known or unknown, mentors that need not just be humans, but, what have we learned from? And I love it's a sign of the times, and people just relaxing into themselves. We say inquisition over still terrible things going on, but safety lies in just everybody ollie income free. And I love hosting Bill McKibben on radio with Akaya Windwood, and they have their great thing. Also, they're launching many things, but also Third Act, which is for people in their 60s into their hundreds to go like, come on. Right, but I said, well, who are your mentors, right? And Akaya said, well, there's a redwood tree outside my door. And Bill McKibben said, I hate the phrase tree hugger, because it's dismissive, and I really don't talk about this much, but it's a tree. And I talk to the tree every day, and I say hi. And it's like, you're safe here, Bill. You're safe here, Bill, for everybody's, animistic kinship to come forth. We go, right. And then there are fun things we can say, since the Dementors are always self-referential, like whatever. It's like a wonderful therapist friend of mine said, when people really warn you about something, they're warning you about something in them. She also said, when people flatter you, they're paying you for what they're about to take, which is very spicy and fun, right? So praise is liberating, flattery is sneaky. Everything can be liberating or imprisoning. Everything. Astrology, everything. It's a question of how we approach it. So I like also just to put in our magic backpacks, which we will at the end be packing our vessels, with all of our things, and our spells and our blessing. Bogus be gone, I think is just a useful fast one. And then, for everything we play with, there's WikiLeaks. But we have Wiccan leaks, right? So Wiccan leaks is, again, just to repeat it because it's useful. May anything up to no good be revealed, rendered harmless, and in the fullness of time an occasion for mirth. Right? And we can go, would I accept that? Absolutely. If I were abusing power, would I mind? Well, see, all ritual is literalized metaphor, and Cuban Centero ally taught me this. He said they're a little bit more ferocious in Cuba. But they said if somebody's abusing power, you write their name on a piece of paper and you put it in an ice cube tray in the freezer to cool them out, right? It's like, yeah, so sometimes, you know, if I have parties at my house, I go, not that ice cube tray, God knows. You know. Yeah. But if you're very good, we might have an amnesty. Very good. So to cool them out, you know, and then we say, you know, if I were abusing power, would I mind somebody writing my name on a piece of paper and putting it in an ice cube tray? No, let it rip then, you know, let it go. And then, you know, I do cross borders and I will talk to, you know, insane, tyrannical people on occasion. And my exit blessing, which everyone likes, is may we all awaken tomorrow self-possessed rather than merely possessed. Right? And everyone likes that. You know, they go, yeah, absolutely. May we all awaken tomorrow morning self-possessed rather than merely possessed. Right? See, this idea of mob mind and possession, I think, is very useful. I don't think the former guy is, you know, I think he's possessed by mob mind. I think that's part of our dynamic and the art and the music and the thing and the words and all of our good hearts to change the atmosphere, It's part of our skill set. It's part of our skill set that we've forgotten maybe, but it's highly effective. You know, it's again, vision and action, they want each other, they need each other. You know, imagination lays the tracks for the reality train to follow along behind, right? And we go, right, yeah, so may we all awaken. Well, I found it very effective. You know, when I would get into a hot spat with, you know, QAnon cultist, may we all awaken self-possessed rather than merely possessed. They're like, right on. Right? So then there's also, you know, making light of darkness is also a good idea. Have any of you seen What We Do in the Shadows? No? Okay, it's a wonderful, wonderful community. Nobody watches TV. That's really, really great. I'll do it for you. But so there's What We Do in the Shadows is a satire parody documentary about vampires. And it's very, very witty. But the character that they introduce, which I think is really useful, is Colin Robinson is the energy vampire. You know, and he's somebody who goes, did I tell you about my first acid trip ever? And he's feeding on the thing, just sucking energy. But he says, but the best thing is when I'm low and I really need to stock up on energy, just go on the internet. You know, and he said, it's amazing, in minutes I can have hundreds of strangers enraged with me. I feel it. Right? And then at one point also, you know, Colin Robinson, the energy vampire, you know, the other vampires are like, he's getting too powerful. Colin Robinson makes himself into three, and then the three of him start arguing. And then, and Nadia, the woman vampire, says, oh, Colin Robinson made himself into three, and then they bored themselves to death. And we go, right, fun things like that. Speaking to the trickster within us all, because all that is in shadow, some of it is wonderful. You know, and it's part of also our language craft and our language with art and beauty and intimacy and kinship. You know, whatever we speak to another is the part of them we're inviting to dance with the corresponding part of ourselves, which is, again, our aspiration. See, if we're judgy, we're inviting, you know, the least interesting part of somebody to dance with the least evolved part of ourselves, and it's just never a pretty dance at all. And I just remember, again, these small Virgo micro moments that come up that we put in our magic backpack, you know, from memory. And I just remember doing an astro reading for a woman years back in my cuckoo wonderful office, you know, and she was in a truly dangerous marriage, like physically dangerous, and couldn't leave for all the reasons we know and have heard. And I just, you know, I always invite Trickster to operate through me. I go, all right, we understand. You know, but the entire team of women in similar circumstance is counting on you. And she was like, really? Bleeping hell. I didn't know that. Oh my God. Went home, got a restraining order, kicked the guy out, volunteered for a women's center, started a women's center, you know, and it's like, right. You know, so, you know, all of FloraFauna, you know, says to all of us, the earth is counting on you, us. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. Right. it brings the best of us. We want to rise to the occasion, right? To rise to the occasion. And so the trickster part of us, part of what our party favors is there's an invisible metaphoric magic backpack under everybody's seat, and you all get things to play with and take home. And one is a bag of liberating lightning, right? A bag of liberating lightning, and we're going to practice that just for fun. It's a bag of liberating lightning, and to hurl at any closed circle to liberate it into a spiral, right? So it's from Stella Coyote, who set the whole shebang going with liberating lightning. Nice. Okay, so everybody, you can practice. Try this at home. Take this home and practice it. No need to, if you don't like the news, change the news or be the news. I do watch news, right? But sometimes I put on reggae soundtrack in back of it, or light candles and voodoo things, or gongs are good too. Create your own soundtrack. See things, right? And that's also part of the Saturn, Jupiter dance, which is, changing. I've got to do this. Right, which is outsourced Saturn, creates resistance. You'll never get it done, right? We know about our own procrastination games. I've got to get to, right? It's a little cheesy, but it really works. It's like just you can play. Nobody has to participate. Only if you want your life to work. Well, you go, got to get to. Just try it. Got to get to. Right? We get to design the interface between humans and nature. We get to do this. It's why, in astrology, Jupiter was considered a guardian angel, and I love it in a number of ways. It says, for those who look deeply and are overwhelmed by the tragic circumstance and the corruption and all of the earth and the world, I just completely forgot what I was going to say. So never mind that. Right. So yeah, if we're overcome by that, but it's that sense of like available, and also in party favors, because I have the chart of now, before us, but also the chart of the actual equinox in Viroqua, which is at 1:50 a.m. last night. It's got all kinds of fun things to it, but it's also got a pattern called Thor's hammer. Right? It's an astrological pattern. Again, my friend Sylvia taught me. It's, in this case, Uranus, nature's evolutionary trickster genius, with a 135-degree angle to the moon in Capricorn. Moon in Capricorn, the oldest image for that is the Council of Wise People dedicated to the next 7 generations. Uranus Taurus is nature's evolutionary trickster genius. So it's a 135-degree angle, Uranus to the moon. Moon, 135-degree angle to Venus in Leo at the degree, which is a Dionysian houseboat party, right? And then Venus in Leo squares Uranus. So it says it's not like what the musicians have done so beautifully, and what we aspire to. It's not performance, it's magic. It's magic for the earth, right? And so it's a particular pattern that, happened on the equinox wherever the equinox was, but in Viroqua it's especially spicy. And my friend who taught me Thor's hammer, I go, couldn't we find some cheerier name for it? But then I went on the internet to search Thor's hammer. It's the capacity to sweep corruption out of the halls of governance. It's like, oh, we'll keep that. Thank you very much. So you have liberating lightning and Thor's hammer in your party gift bag, right? So to sweep corruption out of the halls of governance, to see that. So there's, and also just sometimes there are images for each degree of the zodiac. It's an old tradition going back to Egypt and everything, and humans made them up. So if it works, that's great, and if not, but I love in the midheaven, the point overhead in Viroqua at the moment of the equinox, 14 plus Aries in the images, a woman weaving a magical basket out of serpents. We go, ooh. It could be you. Could be you. Could be you. It's like it's mysterious, but we go dangerous in a good way. Yeah, spicy, dangerous in a good way. We know that, Neil Dehaas, an Aramaic scholar, the vernacular that Jesus would have spoken, has many great things to say. He said it's this highly musical and metaphoric language, and when you translate it into Greek, it's more kind of like, loses things. But he says, when Jesus says, be as wise as serpents and as gentle as doves, the word he uses for serpent is the same word for wisdom and Eve. Wisdom, Eve, serpent, same word. I'm like, aha! So all subjugation of women and the earth, and religious war is a translation error? And he goes, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Intentional translation error. And then just, back to what we're carrying with us, he says, what comes to us, as in the Sermon on the Mount, as, blessed are the meek, used to justify all kinds of nasty stuff. He says in Aramaic, it's more like, blessed are those who soften emotional rigidity within their hearts, for they shall have all the power of nature. So you can work with that, right? And he says, because it's a language, the vernacular of the Middle East in Jesus' time, all earth-based. So he said, blessed are the peacemakers. He said, that's pretty close, but in Aramaic it would be, blessed are those who plant peace, right? Metaphors, incarnational, sensual metaphors. Power of blessing is always sensual. So we are, wondering what our Saturn and Pisces would like us all just now and to carry home in our hearts to wonder, what is our deepest dedication? And Neptune says, we just want you to wonder. You can't blow this. It's like, well, what should I wonder about? Wonder about that. I wonder what I should be wondering about. It's like wonder. Because backstage we go, look, the humans have run out of certainty. It was always a booby prize anyway, but now there is no certainty. And the ancestors go, a round of applause for all those humans who have lost their opinions. Now they're available to mystery. We go, oh, yeah, oh, that's good. Because whatever we dedicate to, is how synchronicity will converse with us. So right now, some things are always true, but there are times when they're truer. It's like inward dedication strengthens outward signal. So we're more likely to be danced into place. And what I also asked Janine Benyus years ago, and I keep it with me always, what is this biological term, vertical integrated hierarchy? And she said, it's this beautiful thing in nature. It means everything in nature contains the plan of the larger thing it's a part of. A tendon in our arm is made of twisted bundled sticks, and each one is twisted bundled sticks, each one micro, fractal. And she said this is what makes for nature's ingenuity, resilience, and self-assembly. And so she was happy to encourage me to take scientific fact and turn it into guiding metaphor. So as we clarify, what is our dedication? Then we're more likely to be danced into place with the larger thing that we're a part of. And it's sort of like things are so dangerous that we go, it's come to this. We now have to do what we want to do. Oh, right. So there's that. And because I started off with Stella, and let me begin to end with Stella Coyote, so important to me. When I first adopted, or she was entrusted to me as a coyote puppy. Her mother was a dog, but her dad was a full coyote, and she looked completely coyote. If she'd been full coyote, one way ticket to Denver. But she was a between worlds person, and I hosted a Lakota elder on the radio right around then, and he goes, oh, nothing smarter, which is true. And I do love, I love living with a creature that would bite me if I had a stupid thought. Especially about death. I was so worried. She got to be 19 and still pretty kick butt, and cannabis helped her in her last year quite a lot. And when I would worry, what am I going to do with your beautiful little body and your fur, and what will I do without you? And she would look at me and she'd bite me. And I go, you're right. It was very clear. She's like, we'll know when we get there. Do not burden me with your human grief. It's like, you're right, very impolite. But so the Lakota elder said, nothing smarter. And then he said, we Lakota did not hunt alone. Those gifted, let us remember this, could go backstage to the green room, to the reverie room, and they would negotiate a working alliance with the wolves and coyotes. And we would all hunt together for a season. And if you want to destroy the earth and destroy our culture, have people forget this important tool or skill or Venusian capacity to come into good relationship, or mock it, And so I've talked about it often, and I experiment myself, but I thought we might just do a little microdose of us experimenting, and just to prime the pump a smidge. When I talk to myself and others going, it might have been you, might have been you, might have been you, who had the capacity to go backstage, and like buying a carpet in the Middle East, it might take a while. We had to have tea and sit down and whatever, but, and then emerging going, we got a deal. The coyotes want the front left leg and half the liver of every other deer. The wolves are cool with that. We're cool with that. The deer are cool with it. Back on stage. As an imaginative, pragmatic mysticism, I just invite people who feel an affinity to experiment with this. And we're going to start now with our beautiful trancy musicians, just, in a moment of maybe, eyes half closed, imagine that we are going backstage, to negotiate or broker an alliance with what we love in nature, plant, flora, fauna, and just one other thing that goes with that so beautifully. Right now we have Mars, wolfiness in Libra, and Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus. These are the two Venuses in this Venus time that we embark upon. So Taurus is the participatory animism Venus, and Libra, Mars in Libra, is cultural Venus. So for each one of us to pledge, for something we love, I will be the cultural expression of something that I love and feel kin with in nature. Does that feel like a good idea?
Yes.
Right, so our musicians will guide us into tranciness. Oh yes, and mystical singing and uplifting yearning. The violin of yearning, so we don't have a yearning disability. We have I love that. So yeah, wherever you want to go with this beautiful yearning backstage. Maybe you see an animal. Maybe negotiating by dancing. Maybe we're dancing with the animal. Maybe it's a whole wolf pack. Maybe it's a flock of geese. And the plants say, what are you putting on the table? If we do this, what are you giving to us? And we make a vow that we're going to keep. exchange of gifts. Bless and receive. Send blessing, receive beginning something real. Now we approach our finale. That was great. Well, there's more. Wait, there's more. Tell them what they've won. All right, there we go. So that was like a finale, but I felt that was great. I could feel the animal allies and it's real. It's like every now and then we might go to a ritual. It's like, bad ritual, But then at a certain point, you go, whoa, it's real. It's coming in. It's like, so we started with our alchemical vessel, right? This is our alchemical vessel of our desires and, again, beauty and all that we've brought to the table and our lineage and our mentors. And remember the great Chiron, little planetoid, is the first mentor. He's a mentor centaur 2,500 years ago, and he starts a school for future cultural heroes. He teaches Asclepius how to be the Greek god of healing. He teaches Orpheus how to play the lute. So healing and music were one thing, and ancient mind peers at the modern world going, why are you modern people always separating things that belong together? Thank goodness there's an equinox where we bring it back together, healing and music, healing and music. And in his school, the first thing he teaches his future cultural heroes is to take bows and arrows and to turn them into lutes, right? So it's the transformation of war through art into art. It's clearly the way to go. So we've crafted our vessel, and everybody take this home and play and start the things. And now it's time to our alchemical vessel. Now we want to get into our vessel because we're going to set sail with a fantastic launching, but we have some things to pack in our vessel. We have our bag of liberating lightning. We have our magic mirror. Well, that's good too. We have our magic mirror, which is secular critic holds up a mirror and goes, look, it sucks in detail. The trickster, with a wave of the paw, turns the mirror into a window, but look how beautiful it could be. And with another wave of the paw, turns the window into a door. Let's go. Okay. So we all have a magic mirror window door. We all have our goat. Our goat is getting in the vessel with us, right? Our wise animal. Our tyrannometer, so that our manner of relating may be an offering rather than an imposition. Fun play. And I love that the word rollicking comes from frolic and romp. So rollicking, our rollicking, rousing finale, just a little bit. And the musicians and all of us will take ourselves out. But so in mind's eye, we've crafted a vessel. My friend Max Dashu says, craft means power from dedication. Our craft, that we may all dree our weird, a wonderful phrase, which means to play our role in destiny. And again, Mars and Mercury in service to Venus. So we have the power fist unfurling into the palm of blessing. May it go well for you. And to realize that there's no prison for the unexpected in terms of language or unexpected, doing a kind thing where that was not expected. So we have our fist into blessing. We have our Saturn exalted in Libra. Watched a good video which said, to stand on one foot, balance, right? Balance is good. And then at a certain point, just close your eyes and balance. And then all those things, take that home and practice. And then, our musicians will take us out and we imagine us all getting into our vessel. Uranus, Trickster, Genius says to each one of us, I'm going to connect you to the coolest things possible. Where would you like genius? Where would you like connection? Terry Pratchett says genius is always sleeting through the universe until it finds a receptive molecule. And then it's like Shakespeare. So it goes, we are receptive. We are willing to have irresistible eloquence on behalf of what we love. We are willing, tell me your story and I will tell it for you, toing and froing. We go, right. So, and any other things you want to pack. So Uranus says, I'm going to connect everybody to the coolest things, most liberating thing possible inwardly and outwardly. And all I want from you, says Trickster, Coyote, Bodhisattva, liberating lightning, all I want from each one of you is a gesture of willingness. We are willing. Again, only if you want your life to work will you hoist your sails of willingness going, we are willing, right? And backstage goes, look, those humans have hoisted their sails of willingness. We'll send the wind. They're going on out there. And we say, Aizan. Aizan is an Amharic word of support and encouragement to embrace challenge for those setting out on a beautiful, dangerous, but worthy journey. Aizan. All right, musicians. Feel free to undulate. Feel free to undulate. We're setting sail. Our sails are up. Our sails are up. Our hands on the tiller. Here we go. Feel free to undulate. Here we go. Here we go. Thank you.